Hey guys, and welcome back to the Pajama Party, where we have scriptures and PJs and feel goods. Welcome, guys, back to the Real Bible Stories with your rambling host, Victavia. As always, I hope you guys have been well. I hope you've had an amazing week since the last time you've came and listened in or viewed. Shout out to you on the podcast, or if you're watching here on YouTube, I'm grateful that you decided to kick it with me for another go round. Today we are going to be diving in of one of my, I won't say he's my most favorite, but one of my favorite people in the Bible. We're going to be reading his story today and talking about him because that man, I relate to that man. Before we get started, I would like to say a prayer as always. So please, if you could bow your heads, close your eyes, if you're in a comfortable, safe area where you can do that. If not, just listen in. But I'm going to close my eyes, okay? So, Lord, just thank you for another opportunity to come and to share your word with your people. Thank you for touching my mind and my heart, and for just allowing me to see this episode series out to this far. Thank you for calming my fears. Thank you for going before me. And I ask that on tonight you stand before me, Father, and that you fall afresh on me, and that your word will fall afresh on those who are viewing in, Lord. And I ask that you would just touch my mouth, my heart, Lord, my mind, that you would be in control of everything, Lord, and that you would speak through me, that your light may shine, that you may be given the glory, honor, and praise. And whoever is viewing this, Father, I ask for blessings upon them, upon their household, Lord, upon their situations, and no, not just materialistically, blessings for, mental things, Lord, blessings for emotional growth, Lord. And if your blessings come as material, well, your blessings are not just things, Father. You don't just give us things, but if you see it fit to prosper your people, that is what I'm asking that you would do in any area of their life, Father. And help us to always remember who it comes from and who to put first. It is you. And Lord, we love you. I love you. I glory and honor your name. And I thank you for loving me. In Jesus' name I do ask and pray. Thank God, amen. Okay, I had to go back in my prayer, and I wanted to redo that part because God doesn't, yes, he blesses us, and yes, he gives us things, but we should not look to him just for material things. He does say in his word, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these other things will be added to you. And so, yes, for instance, he recently blessed me with some gadgets that I had wanted for a while now, but I didn't get those things until I start following him. And, for me, I don't just follow and love God because he gives me things, and so that's why when I pray, I try not to just be like, Lord, bless me with a car. I try to have depth. And so when I pray for you, I don't want to be like, bless him with a brand new house. I mean, if he sees it fit, yes, but I want him to bless you in every area of your life. And so that is why I will not edit that out or, redo it, because it was sincere. It was from the heart. I just wanted to explain the trip up there. Also, you see we rocking the fro tonight. You know what I'm saying? She cute or whatever. It is a fro night, friends. But so we're talking about my man Jonah tonight, okay? I love Jonah. I love every person in the Bible. Like, they have my heart. Like, disciples and people, obviously I don't love like Satan and, all that jazz. But the people who had the stories in the Bible, who went through things. I love them because they all have their own personalities. And like Jonah reminds me of Peter in a lot of ways, okay? But I think where they differ is, Jonah ran and got swallowed by a fish. Peter was catching the fish. So, but hey, I'm just saying, I'm just joking. But so we're gonna talk about Jonah, and I wanted to talk about Jonah about maybe like 2 weeks ago when I first ever started the podcast. But there was other pressing matters, and Jonah just had to wait, just like Peter. I'm gonna get back to Peter eventually. But so the theme for this week is disappointments, and I am Jonah because I relate to like a lot of things that he went through, which I'm going to talk about that in my testimony. But first, we're going to dive into his story. So Jonah, if you have a Bible, I don't know if all the Bibles, because mine is a study Bible. So I'm going to just put it like this. Jonah is after Obadiah. That is where Jonah is, if you want to go and find it. My book says it starts on page 1289, but I don't know, like, if all of the Bibles are you know what I'm saying? Don't question me on that. So, now, we are going to start at chapter 1. And it says, now, chapter 1, verse 1, it says, now the word of the Lord came unto Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, arise and go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness is come up before me. But Jonah rose up to flee unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord, and went down to Joppa, and he found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare thereof, and went down into it, to go with them unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. Sorry if I'm butchering that. I tried with these words. But the Lord sent out a great wind into the sea, and there was a mighty tempest in the sea, so that the ship was like to be broken. Then the mariners were afraid, and cried every man unto his God, and cast forth the wares that were in the ship into the sea, to lighten it of them. But Jonah was gone down into the sides of the ship, and he lay and was fast asleep. Chaos is going on, and Jonah is just sleeping his life away. So the shipmaster came to him and said unto him, what meanest thou, O sleeper? Arise, call upon thy God, if so be that God will think upon us, that we perish not. And they said every one to his fellow, come and let us cast lots, that we may know for whose cause this evil is upon us. So they cast lots, and the lots fell upon Jonah. Then they said unto him, tell us, we pray thee, for whose cause this evil is upon us. Where is thine occupation? And whence comest thou? What is thy country? And of what people art thou? And he said unto them, I am an Hebrew, and I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, which hath made the sea and the dry land. Then were the men exceedingly afraid, and said unto him, why hast thou done this? For the men knew that he fled from the presence of the Lord, because he had told them. Then said they unto him, what shall we do unto thee, that the sea may be calm unto us? For the sea wrought and was tempestuous. So Jonah basically was like, listen, I was running, okay? That's why it's turbulence. And I fear the man that's doing this. Like, that is my God, the one that the seas raging and blowing and winds and stuff everywhere. And so Jonah was thrown overboard. He told them to throw him overboard. Yes, and he said, verse 12, and he said unto them, take me up and cast me forth into the sea, so shall the sea be calm unto you, for I know that for my sake this great tempest is upon you. Isn't it amazing how Jonah's like, I know I'm the reason this is happening. Isn't it just amazing when you know, like, I'm not supposed to be doing it, but you do it anyway? Like, Jonah. And so, verse 17. Now the Lord had prepared a great fish to swallow up Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. And then Jonah prays to God in the second chapter. Okay, I'm trying to find the parts of this that I want to read. Okay, so I'm gonna jump down here to it's chapter 2, verse 8. It says, "They take observe lying vanities, forsake their own mercy. But I will sacrifice unto thee with the voice of thanksgiving. I will pay that I have vowed. Salvation is of the Lord. And the Lord spake unto the fish, and it vomited out Jonah upon the dry land." 3. Chapter 3. And the word of the Lord came unto Jonah the second time, saying, Arise, go into Nineveh, the great city, and preach unto it the preaching that I bid thee. So Jonah arose and went unto Nineveh according to the word of the Lord. Now Nineveh was an exceeding great city of 3 days' journey. And so I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I was trying to figure out when that was it. So Jonah ran from God. He didn't want to do it. He just did not want to go through this. And so after he gets to Nineveh and he tells the people what God said, it says in chapter 3, verse 10, and God saw their works, that they turned from their evil way, and God repented of the evil that he had said that he would do unto them, and he did it not. And then here is chapter 4. But it displeased Jonah exceedingly, and he was very angry. And he prayed unto the Lord and said, I pray thee, O Lord, was not this my saying when I was yet in my country? Therefore I fled before unto Tarshish, for I knew that thou art a gracious God and merciful, slow to anger and of great kindness, and repentest thee of evil. Therefore now, O Lord, take, I beseech thee, my life from me, for it is better for me to die than to live. Then the Lord said, doest thou well to be angry? So Jonah went out of the city and sat on the east side of the city, and there made him a booth, and sat under it in the shadow till he might see what would become of the city. And the Lord God prepared a gourd and made it come up over Jonah, that it might be a shadow over his head, so to deliver him from his grief. So Jonah was exceedingly glad of the gourd. But God prepared a worm when the morning rose the next day, and it smote the gourd that it withered. And it came to pass, when the sun did arise, God prepared a vehement east wind, and the sun beat upon the head of Jonah, that he fainted, and wished in himself to die, and said, It is better for me to die than to live. And God said to Jonah, Dost thou well to be angry for the gourd? And he said, I do well to be angry, even unto death. Then the Lord, thou hast had pity on the gourd, for that which thou hast not redact that. Then, verse 10, then said the Lord, thou hast had pity on the gourd, for the which thou hast not labored. For the which thou hast not labored, neither madest it grow, which came up in the night and perished in the night. And should not I spare Nineveh, the great city, wherein are more than 60,000 persons that cannot discern between their right hand and their left hand, and also much cattle? All right. Oh, sorry. I cry on parts that make me emotional because when I compare myself to these people and really read like what the Lord did for them and I see it in my own life, it just makes me so emotional. So to talk about my testimony and tie it into this story, if you're new to the podcast or if you're listening in on a podcast or new to my YouTube, I talked about this when I first ever started up my YouTube again because I had started it and then excuse me, I stopped it. And so okay, let's jump back. Many years ago when I was a kid, the Lord gave me visions, of doing music, singing, writing music, all of that, and I went to school, I got in choir, and time carried on. I got in college. I chased being a music major and stuff. And I just always knew I wanted to do music. And so my teacher told me she thought that I'd be a great teacher, to teach kids because I would work well with kids. And so my dad at the time was like, well, until you get your music studio or whatever you're planning on doing, you need money. You're going to need a job. And I think teaching is a great job, because it has benefits. Like they pay off your student loans, and there's a guaranteed placement, just all this jazz. You get a retirement fund. Like there's great benefits. And so I really looked into that. I graduated. I transitioned into preschool because I did not know when I was in college that you had to like get certified and take this test and all this and that. Because had I had known it, I would have done it before I graduated. But I digress. So I ended up moving with my grandma. I was into preschool, taking care of kids. Like I really loved it. And that was just kind of my life. 2 years later in 2019, well, in 2000, no, let's jump back. So in 2019 is when I went with my grandma. And within that time, like a year later, it was on me to start this thing called Motivational Monday. And it basically is pretty much what I do now. But Motivational Monday was supposed to be like a Monday where I just talk about, motivational things and get people through the week. I've always wanted to be a source of light for somebody because I feel like had I had that more in my life, I would have felt like I could do so much more. And life would have just been more bearable, and thank God that he's gotten me here. But I know it's always different when you don't have support, when you don't have a person who truly can say, I know what it feels like to be in your shoes. And I just want to be that for somebody. And I started up the channel. It didn't really go well. I couldn't really find ideas of what I wanted to do, or I couldn't keep them up. I did not want to like put on makeup. I did not, put my all into it. And I remember, trigger warning, I'm not going to go into great detail, but one episode I talked about my suicide contemplations, and I remember my mom was like, you can't be on camera like that, and one of my close friends had told me at the time that she couldn't listen to it because she felt like she was listening in on something, personal. And then I was dealing with this crazy situation revolving online dating. And so it just crashed and burned and I let it go. At the time, my mental state was just crumpling. I didn't have a great relationship. I didn't read my Bible. I did not go to church. Whenever I went home, I would go to church, but I didn't really go to church. It wasn't consistent like it is now. And so that was kind of just that. I let the channel go. I thought like, well, maybe this isn't for me, maybe I overthought this or something like that. And 2020 came, and then the pandemic came, and I ended up getting a kidney stone. And after that, my family and I, we relocated, and then the Lord put it on me to start cosplaying, and I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. Like, I love cosplaying. I would love to get on YouTube and do that. And after that, I started that last year, actually, or the year before last. And then into last year, Korea came around. And so I was prophesied to in 2018. I was told I really didn't want to go to the altar that day. It was really a heavy feeling on me. I didn't really think that the guy was gonna like tell me anything worth listening to, but there was just like an instinctual pull, so I went. And he prophesied that I go to Korea, that he saw me no, he said, I see you overseas teaching English and making music to bless the nations. And he was like, do you know why you are going through such a hard time? And I was like, no, no. And he was like, because you're an ambassador for Christ. And he was like, do you want to make music for the Lord? And I was like, yeah, that is where my heart is. Now, when I was younger, I did not really want to make gospel music. I wanted to be a singer, but I didn't want to do like the churchy songs. And I just wanted to sing, like I wanted to write about like love, and dance all over the stage and twerk or something. Those were my dreams. I was young, and even when I got older for a while, like I still thought that was the life that I wanted. And so when Korea didn't happen, when all this stuff didn't happen, I was like, okay, that had to be a false prophet, or maybe, like, who knows, maybe my prophecy changed because I waited too late. And so, I really quickly, to summarize through Korea, I got this feeling one night. I was cooking food, and it was just like in the midst of me chopping up something, I saw myself in Korea. And I asked my mom about it because I was really afraid of it. I got rejected back in 2018. I was also in this program called Fulbright, and I basically did not make finals, though I made semifinals. And so I was really sad about it. I cried a lot. I was really bitter. I would look up at planes in Houston and all the time and be like, that should have been me. And I remember one time my mom was like, if it should have been you, it would have been you. Like, if the Lord meant it, you would be up there. And because I didn't really know God, and because I have always felt like I displeased him, I really thought that he didn't give me Korea because I had done something wrong. In some kind of way I had failed, and or he just didn't love me. It wasn't meant for me to be happy because he didn't give it to me. And so I finally got over it, and I was like, I'm done on Korea. Like, I just don't want to go. I was really bitter about it. And so I finally had put it on a back burner. And when it came full surface that night, I was really conflicted because I knew what I had went through, and I did not want to give my hopes up again, because first it was Fulbright, and then there was this program called like Eclipse or something like that. And this lady was like, yeah, you're gonna go, they're gonna love you, they're gonna want you. They didn't want me. They were like, no, you're not. You're not teaching with us. And so, when this came through Travel Bud, I had applied for them the year before, but I didn't have the funds. And it just so happened that with this job, I got paid more, so I did have the funds. And I prayed and I asked God. I said, well, send me a sign, if I'm supposed to go to Korea. And it happened. It went in full circle. Everything went great, only for me to leave out October and end up, I left like October 29th, I believe. I can't really remember, but I want to say it was October 29th because it was before Halloween. And I came back home the following Wednesday, and it crushed me. It was a very hard loss for me. I actually, if I'm being honest with you, I had a breakdown about it last week because it's still fresh, and so how this ties into Jonah is because I thought when I went to Korea, like, that was gonna be the big breakthrough, like that is how everything falls into place. I would start up content, I would create more, like people would want to view my channel more because I was that Black girl in Korea, like I had finally did it. And I ended up right back here, flat on my face, no Korea, just in my town now with my parents doing this. And I'm grateful, and we'll get there, but it was hard for me to go through that because Korea was something that I always wanted. when I fell in love with that place, I knew it was different because I've never wanted to go and live anywhere else like I wanted to live in Korea. And it was hard to accept that, and to accept the idea of wanting to go so far away from my parents, but it was exciting. Everything about the trip was amazing. And, when I came back home, I didn't really know what the hell had happened. If I'm going to be honest with you, I could not understand like how it ended up in shambles, from the pictures that they sent me to what I got. To even the most randomest things happened over there. It was cold water central. I had to take a shower in the kitchen sink because the bathroom drain was clogged up and it didn't have any hot water in there. And when the one night that I did try to shower in there, the water backed up on me, so I had to shower in the kitchen. I literally would put a towel down on my dirty clothes and I would stand on it and, soap myself up and then wash myself off with a towel. And because it was really cold and it was that time of the month, I had to pat dry, like I do my upper part, then pat it dry, and do my lower part, and then quickly like bundle up in clothes because I didn't want to get sick, and I remember one day I could barely walk out of the freaking room and down the stairs because my lower back hurt so bad. And one day when I stepped in the middle of the room, I just broke out in tongues. I didn't even, tongues was something I recently or briefly had an encounter with it when I was a kid. And I've always wanted to be able to talk in tongues, and it came full circle that day. And I just could not understand why I was so emotional, but I broke down in tears and I just started crying. And so when I laid down, my pastor reached out to me and asked me how the trip was going. And really, that is what started for me to come home. And when I was laying there, I even remember one night, I had fell asleep, or when I was going to sleep, so there was a bug in the sink when I was showering one night, and then there was a bug on my roof, and the room was really moldy. It was just bad. And so when I was laying there on this hard prison bed, I was falling asleep, and I had woke up. And the Lord told me, and I truly believe it was him. He was standing in the middle, and there was like angels around him. And there was a little light just in that circle. And the rest of the room was pitch black. And he said, I won't let anything happen to you. And I fell back asleep. And when I woke up, the bug that was above me was gone. It was a new day. And that was that. And I even told my mom and one of my best friends. And now let me put this disclaimer in there. I don't think nothing bad of the place. It's just that the place I was staying at, I am pretty sure I heard somebody open my door. I heard some kind of banging going on in there. And I just kept thinking to myself, whoever is in here, if there's somebody in here, I'm going to fight to the death. And the Lord is my witness. I was going to give it everything I had. But, even when I came home, made the decision to come home, to see the Lord protect me the way he did, I knew it had to be God. I knew without a shadow of a doubt, I was coming home. There was no ands, ifs, and buts about it. I never allowed myself a moment to doubt God. I needed him so bad in that moment. He had 100% of my faith. And everything I've ever did in my life, I can never say I've had a moment where I trusted God more than when I did when I came back from Korea. Because you guys have to realize, I had 2 suitcases full of luggage, like over half my clothes packed in there. Electronics is in a small little carry-on bag. I'm talking about soap, like the essentials, everything that I thought I would need. I'm now having to create the great escape and hightail it out before the lady comes gets me to register me for the Korean embassy. So she's trying to register me at like 10:45. I am out the door literally at like 8 a.m. I was like, you will not. It was really incognito. I did it all with the help of my mom, and my family. Really my mom, because she had to give me the tickets, and my family had pitched in and help give me the money for the tickets there. And it just so happened that I did not exchange all of my money for one, which thank God. So I still had, funds in my account. And because I didn't really eat or do anything with my card, the money was still there. And y'all, everything about this trip was just a stress, because even the bank card I had was a temporary card because my bank hadn't sent me my card. And when I asked the lady about it, like the day before I was leaving, she told me, well, I don't know if it's gonna work overseas. Y'all, I was stranded. I was by myself, and the Lord still watched out for me. He brought me home. I'm over there walking around back ways of streets and stuff and sketchy neighborhoods, and he kept me. I don't even remember seeing people come out of my apartment. Two guys. One of them looked very tough and very unfriendly. And I heard a girl's voice, but like other tenants, there was nobody there. And when I came home and I started, sorry, my alarm. And when I started thinking about my life and stuff, and YouTube was coming up, and I was like, I could do YouTube again, and I did not want to do it. I think I went back and forth with God in my mind a lot. And sometimes he still tells me stuff, and I'm like, now I'm more accepting to it. I'm just like, okay, Father, like, yeah. But at the time, I fought him hard to be here in this seat. When he told me to do the Real Bible Stories, I was like, you're lying to me, Father. And I know he doesn't lie, and that's just an expression. And I really felt like that, okay? He knows. I feel like he's always, because he's always watching, he's in the room, so he knows. I was like, this is not possible. Like, you're not asking me this right now. And I didn't want to do it. And not because I don't, like I say, want to be a light or nothing, but like I was telling one of my cousins, I am very fearful of, really, I didn't want to do this and misinterpret God or misrepresent him to anybody who may be, not so deep in their faith with them, or, just now meeting Christ. I didn't want to be responsible for, what I'm saying, people like not getting it together. I didn't want the blood on my hands. Like, I didn't want to be involved. I'm like, I'm barely struggling to get, like myself together. I'm not deep in my Bible. Like, I am not this scholar. I'm just Shay, but he told me to do it. So I did it, and guys, when I tell y'all I ran from God, I have ran. I have ran because I was afraid. I was always told this was not a reality. Every time I tried to put out ideas to people who say they loved me and wanted to support me, the feedback was like, yeah, sure, like, do it. But when I started doing it, nobody was around, and because a lot of my friends have different belief systems, I am one of the only ones that is Christian. And so to me, I feel like it's a little bit even more unbelievable to see this girl like, oh, Jesus, and because I also get very emotional and I am not always 110% happy, I feel like, nobody will want to listen to me, because I always believe to be a Christian and to be in God means you have to be happy every single day. If you was close to the Lord, you wouldn't have no problems, but that's simply not true. That is so far from the truth, and yes, there are problems that arise, but the Lord is there with you. He is there always. And even when I did run and hide from him, he still had mercy. He gave me a gourd. He protected me, and he kept me from things that I couldn't even see and know, that I didn't even know about. And it was a lot of sketchy stuff going on, everything about it. And the fact that my first real encounter with him was me crying out in tongues. I didn't even know what was happening. And as soon as I cried out to him, that's when my pastor responded, or my pastor messaged me and was getting on to me about basically being gracious to myself. And, even with my music, it was kind of something that I had given up on because I felt like I couldn't do it, like making the beats and just be, I say, you know, like, I want to be on stage and sing. And if I'm being honest with myself, though I've wanted it and though I've somewhat believed I could do it, I never really 110% believed that I could be on the stage or that I could say anything or make music for anybody that would touch them or help them in any form of fashion, you know? And I know that this is my calling, but I didn't want to go through this because, one, I didn't want to lose the few friends I had. Because for me, finding any kind of friend is hard, you know. And two, like I said, I didn't want to be responsible for leading people astray. I don't want to say the wrong things because I'm still trying to grow as a person, you know. I don't want to give you advice if I'm still walking through my own mess, you know. And I just thought that I could never please God. I don't know. I felt like people were more qualified than me, better than me, you know. I was just this fat black girl. And it sounds so sad to say, but that is how I started feeling about myself. There was nothing special about me. The enemy had got in my head so bad that I just, you know, I didn't want to do it. And then, like Jonah said, I knew that the Lord was still saving. I'm like, you know, all these great pastors that they got, you know, and these other people who can do it, you know, he don't need me to do it. And here I am sitting in front of you with my man chilling beside me. Because like I say, Jesus is close to me. And, you know, and I guess even when I want to tell y'all this funny thing, because I thought this literally happened to me a few weeks ago. I got mad about something. I think it was one of these looks I was doing, these makeup looks I was doing. And I was on 10. I was raging. I was upset. And I had read Jonah the night before. And the Lord was like, okay, but do you have a reason to be mad? And I was just like... And, you know, I was like, yeah. And he was like, you're acting like Jonah. And I was just like, well, you're right. You're right. Like, I can't even debate that. Because I was being a Jonah. Like, you know, I was going out for no reason. Because I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to obey him. Because not obeying him doesn't work for me, you know. And even with the Korea thing, you know, I really had to get out of the notion that God took it from me. Because when I first came home, I felt like he took it from me. You know, I felt like, oh, well, man, you know, he redirected me here. And I'm not saying that the Lord didn't redirect me, but I know he didn't take that. And so I would like to apologize, God, again for blaming you for that, because it was not him who took that from me. You know, he kept me. And it is emotional to even think that I accused him of that when he protected me even in the midst of it, you know. And he allowed me to experience something so beautiful. None of my family has ever traveled to a foreign place, you know, and stepped foot on the soil. And even though for now it was a limited experience, still it was something that the Lord blessed me with to have that experience. And I feel like he was just showing me a glimpse of the promise that he has for me. And even a few days ago, you know, when I was thinking about it and I was sad about it, the Lord told me, I'm going to get it back for you. I'm going to take it. Be listening now. The Lord is going to take it back for you. Don't count him out. He is on your side. And even though we run from him and we try to do, or, you know, try not to do what he asks us to do or tell us to do, he is still there with you. You can run, but you think Jonah escaped him in that fish's mouth? No, the Lord was right there listening in on him. And I just love how the Lord said at the end, like, I love everything about God. The fact that he had mercy on Jonah and kept him from getting too hot, you know, and to even explain to him in the end, like, okay, you were just sad about this gourd. Now imagine how the people are going, you know, like, imagine, why wouldn't I save these people who are going through stuff too, you know, just like you? And it is just beautiful to see the Lord have mercy and compassion on everybody, because that's what he is. He is love and he is compassion, you know, and it is just so great to see how he loves everybody. Like, he does not have a favorite. He loves every soul and he wants to save every single soul. And it just, when I think about it, it just makes me so in love with him that much more. And, you know, though I do still have my doubts, I don't want to run from him anymore. You know, I try to get closer to God every day. And when I feel alone, when I feel sad, it is a constant reminder of the Lord is with you. You're not alone. The Lord is right here. Like, he's looking at you. Or even if you think he's over here, he's over there, he's still watching you go through this. And I believe he feels what you feel. You know, that's why Jesus came. Because he knows everything we feel, is all the hurt, all the anger, all the sadness. You know, even Jesus didn't want to go to the cross, but he went, he sacrificed himself for us so that we could come to the Father, so that we could sit with him when it's all said and done. And it is for that reason that if the Lord wants me to be a living sacrifice, then I'm ready to put my heart on a silver platter. I have, because I'd rather serve his purpose and repay him, you know, for everything he's ever done for me, and to simply just be his daughter and to let him love on me and let him love on other people through me. It is worthy. It is okay. It is well with me. And so I just want to encourage somebody, excuse me, on today. I don't know what you're going through or what you may be facing, but know that the Lord is with you and he loves you. And there is no place you can run that the Lord will not find you. Even in the midst of your biggest disappointment. And this is speaking from a girl who knows that pain. The Lord is right there and he will take care of you. So don't be afraid of him. Don't think he's just this angry God that's going to throw you in the mouth of a fish. He loves you and he just wants you to love him and to hold his hand and to watch him provide for you. So that has been my story. I'm sorry. This was a very emotional episode. More emotional than I thought it would be. Like I say, this journey for me has been a very difficult one, but only because I'm unlearning a lot of things that I've learned from religion and, you know, society. And so I'm all for the journey. And I just hope that in this episode, you've gotten something out of this. Jonah was fine, okay? He went and wrote his own chapter and it made it into his chapters and it made it into the Bible, all right? And I am a living testimony myself, because of all the things I went through, I should not be here. But here I am, sharing the gospel of my Father in the hopes to reach somebody. So thank you so much for watching. Please remember that I have another podcast out called A Pox Perspective, where I kind of give more like in-depth talks about just culture and my experiences as a Black woman. This one is more, I mean, it, you know, plays off the same, of course, but this one I really want to focus more on God and his word, whereas the Pox Perspective, like, though yes, I focus on God and his word, I share more of my testimonies and my stories. And that one is kind of like a little bit more funnier and laid back, just because this is the word. And like, yes, I do agree you should have fun in the word and all that jazz. I just don't want to make a mockery or a joke out of it. I want the point to get across, you know. And so thank you so much for watching again, guys. Please like, subscribe, comment. I hope you have an amazing weekend. I hope next week is an even better week for you. I hope that all of your prayers are answered. And remember, if you're going to run with God, not away from God. But until next time, I have been your rambling host, Victavia. Good night.